In continuing the discussion about the Jew and the Gentile in dealing with our daily mitzvahs that we fulfill, we mentioned the idea about reciting blessings or tefillah, any form of davening in front of a non-Jew, the way they're dressed. We discussed that in the previous class. Now, in the sefer that we have, which is the housekeeper in the Jewish home, so they present a few ideas. Before eating bread, the hand has to be washed. Before we eat anything for amos, you have to wash your hands. There's different opinions as to how many times you wash. Either way, according to a number of opinions, you should not have a non-Jew wash the hands of a Jewish person in that scenario. There are others, the Chazon Ish, that says it's considered okay for a person to do that. So there are those that suggest that you should not have a non-Jew wash a person's hands. So if you are faced with the requirement that someone has to wash a Jewish person's hands before eating bread, ideally, according to Mishnah Berurah, seems to take a Jew. Chazon Ish says that it's okay for a non-Jew to do it. Again, two opinions associated with that. When it comes to reciting Hamotzi, the Mishnah Berurah has an interesting idea, and what he suggests in this idea, according to Halacha, what he writes is that when the Ramah writes in Siman Kuf Samach Zayin that a person should eat the first piece of bread that they cut, Yesh Lechol Haprusa Shabbat Allah Kodem Shechol Pasach. Before you eat any other bread, you made Hamotzi on this loaf of bread, you should eat from that piece that you just cut. That's what you should do. And so therefore the Mishnah Berurah writes on this that a couple of things he writes. One, he quotes from the Shla, not related to a non-Jew, but he quotes from the Shla that he made Hamotzi on that bread. You should keep a piece of that bread that you made Hamotzi on, that you made the bracha on. You should leave it over towards the end of the meal, similar to that we have with Afikomen. But imagine you make Hamotzi at your meal, you eat a piece of bread. At the end of your meal, have that same piece of bread, a little bit left over, so that would be the last thing that you actually eat. So you have the ta'am, you have the flavor of Hamotzi is still in your mouth. Fascinating. It's like similar to what we have when it comes to the afikomen of leaving a taste of the matzah in your mouth. Here it seems because Hamotzi is this wonderful bracha, this great blessing, therefore we should have the taste of Hamotzi on our mouth, so save a piece of bread over. But then he continues on and he says, you should not serve of this bread, seemingly that bread that you cut, the first piece that you cut for the bracha, you should not feed that over to animals, to birds, or to a non-Jew, because they're not bound by this mitzvah at all. And the mitzvah is something specified for the Jewish person, and therefore you should not take from that piece that you cut. If you cut that first piece and you took a bite of it, and then there's some left over, you should not give of that piece to a non-Jew or to an animal. Again, anyone who is not bound by these mitzvos. So that first slice should not be given to a Gentile. It shows a lack of respect to the mitzvah itself. So that's what he writes. You're not giving proper kavod over to your mitzvah. So you have classic scenarios. You cut the first slice, and maybe you'll cut it again in half. So that other half you wouldn't give over to the non-Jew, number one. Number two, a lot of times people like to give their leftovers over to their pets. That first piece that you cut over for your hamotzi, you should not give that over to your pet as well. Continuing in this sefer as well, it presents the idea that when you make a zimun, when you have 3 people or 10 people that are going to be making a zimun, so if you have 3 men eating a meal together and a zimun is recited, a Gentile should not sit between the men during the zimun itself. Interesting concept over here, as if it's almost interrupting the zimun, but this is a couple of ideas that he presents. Lastly on this, it's a fascinating idea, I never saw it before, quoting a Magen Avraham and a number of others, and that is in benching, when a person says Birkas Hamazon, so towards the end, we say there's all these wonderful extra blessings that we add for our benching itself. We say, when we say we ask the blessings for our forefathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we should receive the blessings that they have, so they should not include everyone in that blessing. That blessing should only be included for those that are under the auspices, if you will, of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So when we say it, we say, we say, may you bless all of us together as one. So if there is a Gentile, if there's a non-Jew in the room, some would say even in the house, then you wouldn't say that bracha that way. Rather, you would add 2 extra words. A fascinating idea I never saw before, and that is, b'nei bris. That those of us that are all together, those that are part of the covenant of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, And some say that the regular text that you should always use seems to be Ken Yivarach Osenu B'nei Bris Kulanu Yachad. The blessing that we're specifically asking over here is the blessing of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That blessing is special, is specifically for Jewish people. Therefore, if there happens to be a non-Jew in the household, according to this view, you would not include them in it because they're not supposed to be included in that blessing. Therefore, we say Ken Yivarach Osenu Kulanu Yachad B'nei Bris, those that are from the covenant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So therefore, when we ask for that blessing, that Hashem should bless us as well, we would be excluding them from that bracha itself. In particular, that bracha itself. We'll stop here.